Valu, he gets through. It's a foot race.
Hello, welcome to Flow Rugby's The Mispass. We're live. I'm Adam Armstrong. I'm here with Alex Goff, as always.
I was just tweeting that we're on live, so
There you go. Everyone in rugby in America, especially, will know now.
No, yeah.
And we're back to a full complement. Back with us in the corner.
The slightly
Michael
singed.
Yeah, just a little burnt. Don't worry about that.
I'm glad there's something written on the board just so people know it's
real
not
one.
Newt O'Donnell this week.
No.
You know, because you guys do look pretty similar. If it wasn't for Newt's mullet, you know,
Yeah.
it could have been.
I've actually been thinking about growing a mullet.
Really?
Not really, but
But would you stick with the
Yeah,
kind of?
I think you should get some.
Wait,
input
you do
on
like a low fade or a high fade?
middle.
The middle fade.
Middle fade, yeah.
Middle fade. Mike gets his haircut like every 10 days. Keeps it
I
sharp.
wouldn't
you know,
say
you gotta
every
keep
10
it sharp.
days.
You gotta
it. He
keep
does
looking
keep it.
How sharp
in
does that look,
control.
though?
Yeah, no, it's good. You look professional and but ready to throw down at the same time.
Makes his eyes
Yeah.
pop, you know, especially with that nice red face.
I just wait until my hair goes like crazy homeless person, and then I cut it. once people start crossing the street when they see me, that's when
That's
I
a
cut
look
my- that's
though.
when I
You
cut
should
my
you
hair.
should keep
Yeah.
the crazy
I
homeless
could go. I
that's
could go
in.
the whole thing. It's just like sideways, you know, mad conductor, crazy professor, maybe if I'm lucky.
I think it'd work. How'd the wife feel about that?
You, she
No,
wouldn't like it.
not
She
good.
wouldn't go.
No,
don't
wouldn't
think
fly.
so. I don't think so.
Should be like cutting your hair in your
Well, the
sleep.
problem is when, and I don't know, guys, you end up doing this, right? You start doing something, and you look in the mirror and said, when did I become my dad? It's like, I look just like my dad. It's like, no, no. Great man, but no, I do not want the 1950s comb it back thing.
No,
Yeah,
no,
Not
that's
gonna
it's not a good look.
not
anymore.
happening.
You're doing pretty well for the hair though.
Hey, the Armenian blood, never gonna lose my hair.
Just
No,
nice
no,
little.
it's gonna stay there.
Silver fox.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where were you last week, Mike? Anyway, you just didn't turn up, so were you doing proper work?
You
or
didn't
something?
care about us.
Yeah, behind the scenes stuff. You know, somebody's got to do the dirty work.
Make it all happen. You know,
Yeah.
buy, sell, sell, and all that stuff. Well, it's good to have you back. And you guys were over in not San Francisco this
Well,
last
Alex-
weekend.
I got to go to San
Alex
Francisco.
was in San Francisco,
Because yeah.
but he gets to stay in
I
the
can
5-star hotels, and I get to stay in the 2-star hotels.
I was in the airport Holiday Inn, but I did get to go downtown, and I was down where Brendan Daly lives, and he's right there next to Lombard Street, just like 3 blocks from where it gets really crazy back and forth. So tourists everywhere.
Oh, where the road is that
Yeah,
goes,
right.
like the hilly
Yeah.
road. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was.
How was that? It was good.
Yeah, it's very good.
Sunny,
actually.
obviously, given Mike's face.
And
Well,
windy.
yes and no. I mean, it was sunny for part of the day, but overcast for the other. It was quite windy. Had a jacket on. That's why only the face is,
Did no one
is
ever
burnt.
Teach you that even if it's overcast, the rays can still get through the clouds.
It is true.
I mean, that was like.
Very
you
true.
know,
I got nailed too, but not.
Sometimes you have to learn lessons the hard way.
This is true. This is true.
I've been told that plenty of times, trust me.
I do have a picture from the weekend.
Oh, yeah?
If we want to pop it up. So this is.
What do we
this
got?
is-
What's going on? Here?
This is it.
Wait, is that Mike? No, it's not Mike.
It is not Mike. You've got your industrial boombox and 3 pigs
Oh,
over the
yes.
coals all day. Then they broke it down, and everyone lined up
And
had
it was
shredded
six rugby teams. They would get
Yeah.
they would get destroyed pretty quickly. I would
Yeah.
think.
Well, there was still a lot of food.
That's
Yeah.
three
but
pigs,
yeah.
I suppose, is a
And-
decent.
But they got, everyone's got their families there and everything.
Applesauce on the sandwiches.
Do
Americans do this?
Applesauce.
They
Applesauce
would.
on
for
pork?
sure, on pork, absolutely. But this is more of an island luau thing.
Mike's looking
So
like.
I think we were going pineapple and something like. And
I mean, it's pretty standard applesauce on a.
One thing I do want to note for that, a lot of love and care went into those pigs because somebody had to manually spin that for like 8 hours.
yeah,
Oh,
that's true. That
wow.
was
Yeah.
not automatic. They had guys doing that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's serious business.
So, and was it serious business on the rugby pitch?
I think so. I mean, there was some interesting games there. It's like it's funny because the teams that were favored didn't really bring their A game.
They what?
for the
So
most
on
part.
back.
Ombak, Belmont Shore, Golden Gate.
Yeah.
I think Belmont Shore played well. Ombak didn't play their best, and Golden Gate didn't play their best.
Well, Mike was saying that I mean, that was like a 3-point game, the Ombak and Life West, until
Yeah.
the last
All the way,
5
yeah.
minutes.
It was like the last, what, 5, 10, 7
Absolutely.
minutes or so,
Yep.
something like that. And it was back and forth.
Life West just really brought it, didn't they? I mean, you were on
Yeah.
the sidelines.
They were they were fired up and hungry before the game, and then you saw a really strong mid-second half surge, and they were just all over everything, and you could see, you know, Ombak was backpedaling the entire time, and then I don't know what happened. It just kind of fizzled out, and a couple penalties here and there, and then Ombak has the game.
Yeah, penalties a long time. I do have a clip, but this is from the Golden Gate game, and the thing was that we were following Brendan Daly around. That was one of the things we were doing.
Did he know you were following him around,
he
or were
did
you
know.
just stalking him?
It's like, who are these people? But he actually, Brendan was fantastic, and we're trying to just sort of tell the story of the life of amateur rugby players who have day jobs and stuff like that. And we talked to a bunch of guys, but we did spend a little extra time with Brendan.
It's
who
quite
was-
actually just think that like
Yeah.
amateur rugby players, amateur elite rugby players,
Yeah.
because he's playing at the elite level of the game,
right.
or because recently got picked for the Eagles, and
Yeah.
and yet he's still amateur, and he works in insurance or finance or something.
He works in software. actually.
Software, yeah.
And you know, a really nice office building downtown San Francisco, and he's
Yeah.
you know got it. Looks like a great job.
I,
and,
this is interesting because
yeah.
Flow Elite did a piece not so long ago. If you go to Flow Elite, check it out. It's been Brent Fikowski, I think, and you can check that out with a Flow Rugby subscription.
This is true.
But Brent Fikowski, I think he came second in the CrossFit Games last year, or certainly top 3. He's a really interesting story because most CrossFit athletes are fully professional, all
Yeah.
sponsored and stuff, whereas he has a 9 to 5. He's a financial controller, and so he's fairly unique at that level in terms of someone who is an elite performer, but still has a fairly normal life in a sense, and just works out a lot, but makes it work somehow. So I mean, interesting story, similar to Brendan.
It's
Probably.
weird. I mean, this stuck in my mind for some reason. It was like way back in 2000, USA toured the UK, and they played Scotland, and they lost 53-6. You know, it was more competitive than that. But during the game, I remember the Scottish announcers going, "You've got to remember, most of these guys have jobs. They've got jobs in the day, and they're trying to play at this level." Now, this was in 2000. Professional rugby had existed for like 4 years. But still, it was like, wow, these guys are all amateur, and they almost were amateur. Now, today, much larger percentage of USA players would be professional, but we still have them. And I asked Brendan if you think that's going to die out, and he said no, I think it's still going to be there. You're going to have fewer, but there's still going to be people who just love it so much that they're able to do it. I mean, let me show this clip because this is Brendan actually.
Who got man of the match, right?
Yeah.
Or MVP or whatever.
Man of the match, and so he's the second row, and the guy they can run a little bit, sell a dummy, go through some guys, scores a try there. He scored another one to put that game away. Nice little move there for him, and he was the player of the game. And in fact, if you watch it and if you ask somebody, who's the Eagle on that team?
Yeah.
It's like
Obvious.
blindingly obvious.
How tall is he?
6'5".
It's funny, like on that, he doesn't look.
He doesn't
that
look
tall.
enormous. He's not super.
But then it
enormous.
happens a lot on rugby pitches because you
Yeah.
got like a load of big
Yeah.
people together.
Although I will say, the other guy who's gotten an Eagle look lately with Golden Gate, Langi Haupeakui, guy's a monster. I mean, he's not big, but he just like every hit he puts in just knocks people back. He's just destroying people. So you do
position is
notice
he in?
it. He's a flanker,
He's a flanker.
which is hard because they're flankers.
And he
all over
plays
the place.
for
Golden Gate. So.
And they're unlikely to make the semi-finals of the national championships, right?
Probably not.
So
Probably not.
if Austin Blacks
Do
win,
you see the guy with the neck tat
unlikely
coming
that I
at
don't
you?
have to go against this guy.
Yeah, I mean, like we asked, it's like
Just-
who's the toughest guy, and it's like, oh, there's a guy with a neck tat. Watch out for him.
Yeah, well, if you've got a neck tat and all that. So good weekend then. Overall,
Yeah.
I think we had a great time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got, like you said, we followed Brendan around. We also have something on Devereaux Ferris coming out. Some great footage from the games this weekend. So there's going to be some good stuff coming out soon.
And Tiger Rugby.
Tiger, yeah, we met up with the Tiger guys.
I'm following them on social right now, and they're posting a lot of stuff. They just arrived in Hong Kong, doing some rehab in the pool and stuff.
That's great. So they're taking a 10s team to Hong Kong, and then they pare that down and go to Melrose Sevens. So they're going all the way around the world. It's pretty cool.
Who is it who got on the last minute on the team?
Oh, well,
this is quite funny.
Yeah, because so people get hurt and stuff like that, and I'm standing there with Neil Barrett, Danny Barrett's brother, and we're just talking about stuff. And Adrian Ferris, who's coaching with Tiger and Life West. And he's like, "Hey, how's it going? How's it going? You don't have to be going to Hong Kong, do you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going tonight. You bringing your boots?" "Yeah, I'm bringing my boots. Do you want to play?" "Sure." Sure. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I know he's playing in the Kowloon 10s. He didn't make a commitment, but that kind of attitude, we love that attitude, right? The idea that, hey, did you bring your boots? Yeah, just put your boots on.
Yeah, well, that's touring rugby, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
fantastic.
I love it when the Lions, most elite level rugby there is in the world, go to like New Zealand or wherever, and then suddenly they bring in people. Or even better was in the World Cup final when Stephen Donald ended up getting called up, but like the Lions, someone just happens to be on holiday like close by.
Sure.
Or like last time, which was a bit of controversy, Wales took their team to wherever, somewhere near New Zealand, wherever they were touring, Australia or whatever it was, and then they got injuries and suddenly they just bring people on, which was a bit controversial. But I love that about touring rugby. It's cool. That's a cool story. Well, we'll see.
That was like the old story of like 1980. Tony Ward was walking with his dog, and 2 days later he's playing against South Africa for the Lions, because guys broke it. Colin Campbell breaks his collarbone. Tony Ward goes in, plays fly half. It's like just pitches up and that's it. That was fun. That was fun.
So, I have an update on the Spanish Inquisition. You remember this?
Yeah.
So Rugby Europe. You weren't here last week, Mike, but I don't know if you've been following the saga as it is, but essentially Rugby Europe 2 weeks ago now ended. Georgia already qualified for the World Cup. This is the Rugby Europe Championship. There was one more spot, automatic qualification, and Spain, Russia, Romania, the second best team. Everyone knows this. But Spain had an awesome tournament, ended up beating Romania, smashed Russia, and all they had to do was beat Belgium.
Just beat they'd already beaten.
Already smashed. And so to beat Belgium, and they would go through to the World Cup. First time they were qualified. These guys are amateurs, all that stuff, and they blew it, and they lost 18-10 or something like that. But there was always controversy because the meant Romania went through, but then the referee was Romanian, the two assistants were Romanian, and the ref, whether biased or not, had an absolutely terrible game. Gave away something like 21 penalties against Spain, but like 4 against Belgium, which is like a world record or something, like not quite, but it was pretty incredible. Belgium did play well, so and we've watched the tape, and certainly a lot of the decisions are very strange. Hard to say if it's biased or not. It could just be poor refereeing, but then he's an experienced referee.
The Spanish let it get under their skin, and they just started at each penalty. They're like, "What?"
They did.
What?
They did, but they also couldn't get any momentum, anything like that.
True.
And so it just snowballs into this big thing, right? Because suddenly, but they've got to adapt the game and all that stuff. But then they're not elite players, right? Anyway. So then the Spanish players nearly attacked the referee at the end of the final whistle. They get called out for that and all this stuff. But Spain have eventually made an official complaint to Rugby Europe. World Rugby got involved, still are involved, but they've said they're waiting for Rugby Europe to meet and decide what they want to do. Do they want to replay the match? Of course, the president of Rugby Europe is Romanian, so it's all kind of dodgy. But the actual guy decides on the referees is French. So there's all this stuff going on. So basically last week we were saying we were waiting, last Thursday they're supposed to have a meeting to decide whether they're going to replay the match or not. But then that got delayed because suddenly Russia complained that Romania had fielded ineligible players, right, which would disqualify them from the tournament, and Spain would qualify automatically for the World Cup. Then it came out that Spain also may have had ineligible players. So they're now in this like complete. Oh, and also I think Belgium may have had ineligible players as well. So they're going through this, and it seems fairly clear that Romania did have an ineligible player, Tongan back, who played in the Tongan for Tonga in sevens, which would bind him to Tonga.
Right.
So years ago, and so Romania would be disqualified, but then potentially Spain may now be disqualified because they had 2 players that were potentially ineligible.
Do we know why they were ineligible?
They'd either played for France or they played for someone before in like some other thing, whatever. But it's all kind of hard to find information out because Rugby Europe's not really saying anything. There's a lot of media sources saying stuff. Really, most of the information is coming from some media source in Spain, but they could be probably biased. But interestingly, we're faced now with Rugby Europe have delayed their meeting again. World Rugby's waiting for Rugby Europe to make decisions 2 weeks after it ends, and we may be in a situation now where both Romania and Spain get disqualified, and the next qualification for the World Cup would go to Russia, right? And then Germany,
who ironically were disqualified in 2003 for the same kind of problem.
right? And then Germany would be in the repechage.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Who then would go against playing they have to play Portugal.
Okay.
And then they would have to play Samoa, home and away, which would get probably smashed because they've been terrible. However, Germany have had 30 players on strike this tournament, which is why they've been so poor. So it'd be funny, wouldn't it, if like suddenly Germany were in a position to qualify the World Cup, but those 30 players would come back. So, I mean, it's a complete
That
mess.
is one giant cluster.
It is.
And I'm sure I've got loads of details wrong. There's people online saying this is wrong and that's wrong because there's all these people complaining because they got affiliations. But essentially, that is the situation.
The problem is record keeping partly. I mean, I know USA some years ago just avoided a massive fine for playing a player who'd already played for another country, and he was on the bench. They just didn't use him, and if they'd run on, they would have been fined, 6 figures. But in the end, they kind of avoided it. And I'll leave the names out because whatever. But the point being that you play in who knows, right? Some A-side game between Tonga and Fiji, or you play Uganda against Zimbabwe, and then somebody emigrates, and like who keeps that record? They don't. I don't know if they have all of those things, and to be able to say you're the same guy as this guy, even though your name changed or something else, or women with the same thing, and more common that the name changes if they get married.
That's
change
true.
The name, and it's like,
well, yeah, this is it. And here's the thing from my point of view, right? It's like, it's kind of funny now because it's gone on for so long, and although it's the Spanish guy's really upset because it's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do this and all that stuff. But I can imagine what they're feeling like. But it's kind of funny now it's going so long. Rugby Europe have not handled it particularly well or quickly. In these situations, you've got to act quickly, right? And yes, you've got to get it right. But why is it taking 2 weeks? I mean, maybe because this ineligibility, they've got to find out if it's true or not. They've got no records. Maybe that's the case. But it seems to me if these teams are fielding ineligible players, like, how many years has this gone on for? And clearly they thought they were just going to get away with it. So, like, clearly Rugby Europe is fairly inept.
How are they vetting this to begin with? Shouldn't we know before the game is played? Like, who's on your team? Who are they? Let's check it. This is hilarious because it's like anybody in American rugby who's run some kind of championship tournament knows that's when you run the tournament, that's what you end up doing. You see, they're looking at IDs and waivers and proof of medical insurance, so that you are who you say you are. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have to put your team sheet forward and say this is playing this week.
That's right.
At least, hopefully, a day before or something, and Rugby Europe look at it and go, all right, are these guys eligible?
They're like, I'm sure it's fine.
And so, if Rugby Europe don't know that, how does Russia know that Romania have ineligible players and Rugby Europe don't? If Russia just got really, really a guy who knows everything about everyone, what's
waiting for whistleblowers, stuff like that.
Well, so it's a mess. It's really one, it's good for Rugby Europe in one sense because no one cared about Rugby Europe. No one thought about it until now, right?
Right.
Everyone's talking about it. It's the guys in Australia talking about it because it's this whole like people like Clive Woodward have come out and talked about it. So in one sense, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
Yep.
And tier 2, the big problem with tier 2 is that no one outside of those tiers really cares that much about it, and we've got to elevate the game and stuff. But it's embarrassing for Rugby Europe. And World Rugby, who are reasonably well run for the most part, like can't really do anything until Rugby Europe makes a decision. But all of this would have been avoided had they just changed those referees and like gone, okay, Romania benefit if Spain lose. Oh, we've got Romanian officials doing this game. Oh, well, maybe we should change the referees when Spain asked them to do it weeks before the game, and there's plenty of referees.
It's true. Oh my God! Because it's not. He's now not a neutral referee. He's got an interest in it for sure.
I mean, it just is. Yeah. It seems.
And then we would have missed all that other stuff.
But then we wouldn't have had. It wouldn't have been funny to talk about, or interesting to talk about. So anyway, that is the update. There is no conclusion yet, but I hope by next week, when we do this, we'll know where we're.
Well, we'll have moved our way down to Moldova.
Yeah.
Liechtenstein, and see if we can find somebody that actually has people from their own country playing.
And there is precedent for banning a team and disqualifying them because they just disqualified Tahiti because they had French players playing for them.
Well, I could see that.
And that just happened 2 weeks ago.
Part of the problem also, the whole thing about you play once for a country, you're locked in. And I understand why we did that because it used to be like, the All Blacks would go raid the Samoan team, and we what about that guy? And he used to play for Tonga, and now he's an All Black, and they were angry. Those nations were angry because their players were being taken. But then they said that they're just being taken earlier now. And it's those nations, the Polynesian nations, who say, can we find a way to get them back, when they're done? But I think part of it is it's like the one game. I mean, is there a grace period? I mean, if you run on for 10 minutes for France, and it's never going to happen again, and then you qualify for Tahiti, or you qualify for Spain, it would seem logical that you allow someone to switch over.
Yeah, you should. Maybe you have to have 3 caps.
3 caps, or a start, or or something like that, or play.
Start wouldn't work because that would be some players just end up being like good, super subs, whatever.
That's true.
But I agree that could be like a certain number of caps or something.
Yeah,
that could make it. But Rugby League did when we did the Rugby League World Cup. We were talking about this because if you're qualified for a tier 2 nation and a tier 1, and you don't get selected by the tier 1 nation, you can go play for the tier 2 nation. Yeah. But then there's only 3 tier 1 nations in Rugby League, and so they've got to try and spread the talent out. But I thought it was interesting.
And there, some players decided not to go play for New Zealand. They went and play for Tonga.
Right, which then makes the whole game better. Yeah. And then Tonga beat New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we've got these silly things. It's like, okay, American Samoa is a member of World Rugby. It has a national team. But if you're American Samoan, you are an American national. You qualify for the USA. So you could play for both. Now but if you choose one, you're locked out of the other one. Which is like the reason the Suniula brothers all played for the USA was because they were born in American Samoa. So they were American, had that birth. They were born on U.S. territory, but they could just as easily have played for American Samoa. So here we have an area where you qualify instantly for 2 national teams, but then you get and what if you don't know anything? What if you don't know? It's just like playing rugby, and then somebody says, "Hey, let's go. We're going to go play Papua New Guinea now," and it's like, okay, and then suddenly you're locked in, and you suddenly
suddenly become really good, and
you suddenly become really good. American Samoa has more NFL players per capita than any other region. So there's tons of great athletes. So what happens if suddenly you're really good? You should come play for the USA. It's like, well, there was this one time.
When I was 19.
I didn't even know what was
going on. I played in the sevens competition.
Yeah, and I said, sure. I mean, Threaten Palamo, we almost lost him because he played sevens for Samoa, but he was 17 when he did it. Wow. And USA Rugby went to World Rugby and said he wasn't allowed to play at 17. That was a mistake. they didn't get a waiver or anything like that. So that didn't count, right? And World Rugby said, you're right, it didn't count. So we got Fred Palamo back.
There you go.
Nuts.
Well,
Crazy.
we'll see
pants.
what happens with this. We're going to run out of time, and I want to get on to college stuff because there's a lot of college stuff happening. We're getting to the business end of the season.
Sure.
What's Live
Life's fine.
annihilate Clemson at the weekend.
I think it was rough on Clemson.
94-9 or something.
93-9.
93-9. That's tough.
Yeah.
And then we've got, so yours about D1A, and then we have Cal St. Mary's this weekend.
Cal St.
which is gonna be
Mary's
huge.
and San Diego State Cal Poly, which is not as huge but still important. But Cal St. Mary's is 1 versus 3. They don't like each other. Massive rivalry. Going to be played live on Flow Rugby. 1 o'clock on Saturday. 1 o'clock Pacific
local time.
Local time, so 3 o'clock Central. Really, I mean, it's going to be great.
It's going to be.
It's just going to be an enormous game.
I mean, it is going to be awesome because both of them have just been smashing people. I was looking at the points for and against. Cal have only conceded 25 points.
Yeah.
Which is just...
They...
I mean, to be fair, St. Mary's have only conceded 29 points.
Right.
So
right.
2 awesome defenses.
Cal beat UBC in one game and lost in another, but they fielded younger players in the second game. St. Mary's swept BYU, first time they've ever done that, 2 games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of their coaches are full of it. You know, Jack Clark saying, I don't know, our second row is beat up and our second row is not good, and everyone's going, oh, you should see their second rows. You should see their tight 5. Just amazing. So, you know, a little bit of like gamesmanship there, and Tim O'Brien and talking about, I don't know what we're doing, you know, how great Cal is, and talking about that. And it's like, yeah, but you swept BYU. You've killed everybody. You just went to Italy and won all your games and came back. It's like...
That's pretty awesome.
A lot of them pretty handily, too. I was keeping updated through their social media on the scores.
And then one of the game, they had 2 red cards, 1 on each side.
Nice.
And it was really feisty.
There was some, you know, some hurt feelings. Words were said, you know. But the St. Mary's is fit, hugely fit. They're I don't know if they're the fittest team on the field, but they're pretty close to it. And I think that's part of the problem is they play against men's teams and they play fast all the time. They just wear them down. Cal knows this. We've seen some amazing games before, and last year was a great one that St. Mary's won on late on just a phenomenal length of the field try. It doesn't happen that often that Cal loses to domestic college competition. So this is, and it's going to throw the whole bracket to pieces.
So you call it?
Well, I think St. Mary's. I'm going to say St. Mary's playing at home. What I've seen, but you know, it's going to be close. It's going to be really close.
The way the bracket is right now, St. Mary's and Cal are on different sides of the bracket here.
I think that's what everybody wants.
Could be a finals preview.
Yeah, it could be. I think they want that, and there's some bracket rejiggering probably going to happen. I do want to say Cal Poly San Diego State. That's a big one too. Whoever wins that comes second in the California Conference, which is St. Mary's Conference. Whoever wins that makes the playoffs. Whoever loses probably doesn't.
That's huge.
So
there's some big first round matchups if they were to start right now. I mean, BYU, Arkansas State.
Can we put that up, the bracket? There we go. This is speculative from the guys at. Let me see if I make that a little smaller.
Right. This is if the playoffs were to start today.
So
based on their rankings,
your conference winners get ranked 1 through. It's actually 1 through 7 because the Liberty isn't sending a team. So 1 through 7, your conference winners, and then you go back up. Number 8 is your best non-conference winner, which is BYU. So BYU is the 8th seed, even though we were pretty sure. And it goes all the way down again to 16. But first of all, this is before, this doesn't take into account this past weekend where Arkansas State beat Indiana. Arkansas State finally got a good result, and I think that moves them up possibly, and also Central Washington beat Utah Valley, which Utah Valley is not going to be in the playoffs anyway. They just got word that they're not going to be allowed in the playoffs. But Central Washington winning that game, I think, was very good for them and might put them in that 16th spot. The other thing is that D1A reserves the right to shift a matchup up one ranking or down one ranking in order to say, if St. Mary's were matched up against BYU, they'd played them twice. Let's avoid that, right? Let's shift. Or make it a little bit easier to travel. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that you look at that thing again, and it has Notre Dame College at Cal, right? Notre Dame College is maxed out financially, possibly. Going to Cal is going to be very difficult. They've got several teams they could drive to, Indiana, Penn State, Life, Lindenwood. They could drive to all those teams. And I think that is something to think about. So we want to talk about what I got?
Let's talk about it.
Put the glasses
You've got 90 seconds.
Okay.
We have to time limit, Alex. This is what I've learned. Because otherise we'll be sat here for
going
another 30
forever.
minutes.
We'll be going forever.
We'll leave, and he'll still be talking.
Yeah.
Right. And another thing. I've got St. Mary's against either Central Washington or Arkansas State. I don't know which one. Probably Arkansas State.
Okay.
I've got Life against Cal Poly or San Diego State, but I think Cal Poly is going to win. I got Cal versus Grand Canyon, which I think is going to be a great matchup, really fun because nobody knows anything about Grand Canyon. Penn State, Notre Dame College, which I think is good. That's a good travel for Notre Dame College. Navy, Indiana, I think that'll be great. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Army, A&M, I love that matchup. If A&M wins, and Army, Baylor, if Baylor wins. But if A&M wins, great matchup because there's the whole military tradition at Texas A&M. They have a very strong military.
Where would that be?
That would be at College Station. Fantastic. I would love that because it's like Army versus Army, Texas. And then Arizona at Colorado State, I think that's a done deal. I think that's what's going to happen. And Lindenwood at BYU, which is like mind-blowing for the first round. Absolutely
Yeah, that'd be great.
But the whole thing, the 12th man thing, Seattle Seahawks, they have to pay Texas A&M to use that term, the 12th man, because it came from Texas A&M, and it was about the military contingent of the football team that would come on home games and do special teams and stuff like that. The military tradition at A&M is massive. If Army goes there, I think it's like, for military rugby, it's one of the most fun things. I would love that matchup.
Well, we'll see if you're right next week, won't we?
Well,
I got one more thing before we close here. Adam, we all know that England has been a little battered as of late, but there might be a bright spot, right?
Why?
Over the weekend, I had the pleasure to interview the 9-year-old son of the Olympic club's head coach. And his mother was born in England, and he said that it's his dream to grow up and play for England. And he's been playing since he was 7. He's 9 now, and he said that he wants to play for England. So, in another 10 years, there might be a really bright spot in England.
Not bad, and that's Ray Lehner's kid.
Yeah.
All right, so Ray Lehner played a prop for the USA.
I love the fact that like a prop son for the USA wants to play for England.
I know. Ray, you're going to have a talk with him.
That makes me happy.
Yeah.
So basically, if he's any good, he's coming to England.
Yeah.
I mean, who can blame him?
Done deal.
Who can blame him?
Done and dusted.
Let's get him ready for the next World Cup. France 2023.
Yeah, that'll work.
Is it 2023? Yeah, I think so. France. Yeah, he'll be ready. Cool. Right. So next week we'll find out about not only D1A but the Spanish saga, and we'll talk about St. Mary's Cal.
Yeah.
You've got St. Mary's.
Yeah.
Who have you got, Mike? St. Mary's Cal.
Sorry, I was
St. Mary's
wasn't
Cal.
listening.
St. Mary's Cal. Who are you picking?
This is why you can't have me on the show.
This is
St. Mary's Cal. I think it's going to be a hell of a battle.
Moisturizer to his face.
Yeah.
Just choose one.
No, I think St. Mary's is going to take it. It's going to be really
right,
close.
I'm going with Cal.
All right.
Just because Jack Clark kind of scares me.
Then one of us will be right. One of us will be correct.
One of us will, one or two. I did this, I think, in the World Cup or something like that, and I lost last time. So, but no. All right, big game. All right, check that out on Flow Rugby and join us next week.